Hey, what's up everyone? So this is going to be the 75th opening that I'd like to share with you, which is the Tanida opening. So Kunihiko Tanida, the opening that's named after, is a Japanese player who used to hold the youngest World Othello Champion record, and then now that's been replaced by Keisuke Fukuchi of Japan at the age of 11 years old in the year 2018. So over here, let's take a quick look at this opening sequence. I'll just play it out quickly. It's F5. It's basically the diagonal opening almost towards the sailboat, which is something that is very common and everybody knows it. So you probably want to take note of this. So black goes here, which is the standard sailboat opening. So instead of just going for b6, white goes for c4 and black plays into c3, which is the typical response for this continuation for Tanida. An alternative is to play to e7. So typically this sequence, it's kind of both players playing towards a diagonal opening starts and basically leads into a very standard sailboat opening, very popular. Everybody knows this opening very deeply. And then over here, instead of going for the standard b6, white goes for a slight change, which is c4. And essentially this is also another kind of sequence that is very popular, and I think the Japanese play this a lot. So the typical follow-up would be c3, followed by white going here, black, white, and then black jumps in for the sandwich, white goes in, black feeds white, and then black essentially cuts for the diagonal to f7 to kind of target f4 regroup. So typically white would then jump into f4 to defend it, because if white doesn't jump in, white plays something outside, black gets to jump in and kind of occupy the center, which poisons white's future moves against this front at the top and the front on the right. So typically you jump in to defend it, and black goes for this to control this mini to this diagonal over here. So if white jumps in, black defends it and controls this. So momentarily, black controls this mini diagonal and has to force white to kind of play around it. But of course, over here, it's fairly simple for white to just play like a head and tail theory, this being the head at e8, that the last move that black just played to flip these three white discs, and then the tail end of it would be a quiet move. So you can do like a post and twist mid-game maneuver. White jumps into e2. If black falls for the bait at d2 feet, then white would then be able to regroup to g4. So this is kind of like a standard post and twist maneuver in one of my mid-game or end-game lessons. So this is kind of a standard handling. So over here, instead of playing d2, if black doesn't fall for the trick, then black knows the book, and then black would then be able to play towards g3, which is essentially poisoning the g4 move that white is after. So this is kind of like a decoy. You cut out, you feed this potential centralization move, and then you basically jump into where you essentially want to go at g4 so that white can just target the cut back into d7. So this is kind of like a standard mid-game maneuver for this opening. And I think almost everyone who is fairly familiar with this opening would be able to play towards this sequence and kind of end up with this result, even though the opening was very much earlier. I think most of the time the game kind of results in this stage, even among the Japanese, even among I think all over the world. I think most players who play this opening tends to kind of trend towards this situation. So I would say that it's easy to play. It's a narrow line for both players, because both players would essentially just follow the best move, reach this stage, and then essentially battle it out towards the mid game and the late mid game, maybe towards the end game as well, just to kind of figure out who wins the last couple of tempos. So I think it's fairly predictable. It can be a pro and it can be a con, but the pro is that if you do this against a player who you think is stronger than you, it might be better to kind of reach a more even position deeper into the game. So that's an option for you to think about. So yeah, I would recommend this for advanced players and above if you really want to kind of master this opening for white as diagonal. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, what you think about this opening. And thank you very much for joining me in this episode. And I'll see you at the next one. Goodbye.